In trucking, power is everything. But sometimes a company builds something so ambitious, so powerful, that it destroys itself in the process. From titanic rigs that cost millions to maintain, to futuristic semis that arrived decades too early, these trucks were engineering marvels and financial disasters. Each one carried not just cargo but the weight of its company's downfall. So buckle up, these are the 10 semi-trucks that bankrupted their own company. Number 1. Marmon 57P. The Marmon 57P wasn't just a truck, it was a statement. A defiant, steel and chrome declaration that trucks could be both powerful and luxurious. Handcrafted in Texas, the Marmon line was often called the Rolls-Royce of trucks, and for good reason. No two Marmons were exactly alike. Each was built to order, every rivet and panel fitted by hand. The 57P was supposed to be their masterpiece, but it became their downfall. Introduced in the late 1980s, the Marmon 57P was sleek, angular, and futuristic for its time. Its massive aluminum body reduced weight, its long hood housed powerful Caterpillar and Cummins engines, and the interior was pure elegance. Premium upholstery, wood panels, and gauges that belonged in an aircraft, not a semi-truck. It wasn't just a hauler, it was a highway showpiece. But the very thing that made the Marmon 57P special also made it unsustainable. Building each truck by hand meant high labor costs and slow production. Marmon refused to modernize with automated assembly lines, believing exclusivity would justify the price. Unfortunately, the market was shifting. Fleet owners wanted efficiency and affordability, not bespoke craftsmanship. While Peterbilt and Kenworth rolled out thousands of units, Marmon could barely deliver a few hundred a year. Each truck cost nearly double its competitors, and margins disappeared fast. By 1997, despite a loyal fan base, Marmon ran out of money. The 57P had become a financial black hole, too costly to build, too niche to scale. When the company closed its doors, the 57P became a symbol of excess, a gorgeous hand-built machine that looked like success, but ended up hauling its company to bankruptcy. It was the last gasp of old-school craftsmanship in a world driven by mass production. A masterpiece that proved perfection can sometimes be fatal. Number 2. Diamond Reo Raider. In the 1970s, the American trucking world was brutal. Competition was fierce, fuel prices were climbing, and smaller manufacturers were struggling to keep up with the giants. Enter Diamond Reo trucks, the merger of two classic brands, Diamond T and Reo, trying to survive in a changing world. Their last hope, a new model called the Raider. The Raider was meant to be a flagship truck, bold, muscular, and modern. It had a long-nosed hood, an imposing grille, and a luxury sleeper that gave it a commanding presence on the road. Diamond Reo equipped it with top-tier power plants, Detroit diesel and Cummins engines, and advertised it as a rugged yet refined long-haul machine. Truckers loved the looks and the comfort. It was everything an independent driver dreamed of owning. But the timing was catastrophic. The oil crisis of the 1970s hit just as the Raider was being introduced. Fuel costs soared, and buyers began downsizing to more efficient rigs. Meanwhile, Diamond Reo had poured millions into developing the Raider and retooling their factories. The company expected mass orders from fleets, but those orders never came. With high production costs and low sales, the Raider became a financial anchor. The company tried to cut costs by outsourcing parts and simplifying assembly, but it was too late. By 1975, Diamond Reo declared bankruptcy, unable to pay off its debts. A few remaining trucks were built from leftover parts until 1978, but by then, the brand was dead. The Diamond Reo Raider was a truck loved by drivers and admired for its craftsmanship, yet cursed by economics. It represented the last stand of an American icon where ambition collided with reality. It wasn't poor engineering that killed it. It was bad timing, bad fuel prices, and the cost of chasing greatness in a shrinking market. Number 3. Brockway 700 Series. For over a century, Brockway trucks stood as a symbol of American toughness. Founded in 1875 in Cortland, New York, Brockway built everything from horse-drawn wagons to logging rigs. By the 1970s, though, they were one of the few remaining small manufacturers left standing against industrial giants. Their last hope was a bold, all-new model, the Brockway 700 series. Launched in 1975, the 700 series was Brockway's attempt to modernize. It featured a striking new cab design with improved aerodynamics, better driver visibility, and a more comfortable interior. The truck was built for versatility. It could be configured for highway use, construction, or logging. It came with powerful diesel options from Cummins, Detroit, and Caterpillar. It was everything a trucker could want, except profitable. The project drained Brockway's resources, developing a new cab, retooling the plant, and launching new marketing campaigns cost millions, money the small company didn't have. Worse, its parent company, Mack Trucks, was also facing economic pressure and didn't see Brockway as a priority. When the economy slowed and sales dipped, Mack made a cold decision: shut Brockway down. In 1977, despite protests from workers in the town of Cortland, Mack closed the factory permanently. Workers staged demonstrations and refused to leave the plant. But it was over. The 700 series, the truck meant to save Brockway, became its tombstone. It was beautifully built, rugged, and admired by drivers. But it arrived at the wrong time, in the wrong economy. After 102 years of building some of the toughest rigs in America, Brockway vanished from the roads. The 700 series didn't fail because it was bad. It failed because even the best machines can't survive corporate politics and economic collapse. Number 4. White Road Boss 2. There was a time when White Motor Company was unstoppable. From the 1910s through the 1970s, they were one of the biggest truck manufacturers in America, powering industries, militaries, and transport companies alike. But their ultimate downfall came with a single model, the White Road Boss 2. Introduced in 1978, the Road Boss 2 was meant to be White's grand comeback, a symbol of innovation and modernization. It featured a new modular cab design, a powerful frame, and state-of-the-art ergonomics. The cab-over-engine configuration offered better aerodynamics and visibility. Fleet operators praised its ride comfort and build quality. On paper, it was the truck that could challenge Freightliner and Kenworth head-on. But inside the boardrooms, the story was grim. White was already bleeding money due to rising production costs and poor management. The Road Boss 2 project, with its expensive retooling and re-engineering, pushed them to the brink. The truck was costly to manufacture, the supply chain was stretched thin, and every unit sold barely broke even. Worse yet, the late 1970s brought a fuel crisis and inflation spike. Truck sales across the U.S. dropped sharply. White bet its future on the Road Boss 2, but buyers were scaling back. By 1980, the company had amassed over $400 million in debt, unable to pay suppliers or workers. The Road Boss 2 became a tragic irony, a technically great truck that helped kill one of the oldest names in American industry. In 1981, Volvo purchased the remnants of White Motor Company, ending an 80-year legacy. Today, the Road Boss 2 is still remembered as one of the best trucks White ever built, but also the one that bankrupted the company that built it. Number 5. Hendrickson 360 Series. When you hear Hendrickson today, you think of suspension systems, but few remember they once built some of the toughest trucks in America. In the 1960s and 70s, Hendrickson was famous for rugged vocational trucks, especially those used in logging, mining, and heavy construction. So when they decided to step into the long-haul market, expectations were high. Their answer was the Hendrickson 360 series, a big, bold truck designed to compete with the big names. Released in the early 1970s, the 360 was a brute. It featured a squared, aggressive cab, a massive steel frame, and a comfortable sleeper. It was powered by the best engines of its time, Cummins and Detroit diesels, and built to handle anything thrown at it. It looked indestructible, and it was. But there was a problem. Hendrickson built it like a tank and priced it like one too. The 360 cost more to produce than the company could sell it for. Unlike Kenworth or Freightliner, Hendrickson didn't have the production scale or dealer network to keep costs down. Each truck required near-custom manufacturing, eating up profits. The oil crisis of 1973 made matters worse. Fleets didn't want heavy, fuel-thirsty trucks anymore. They wanted lightweight, efficient models. The 360's durability was unmatched, but it was the wrong machine at the wrong time. By 1978, Hendrickson was losing money fast. The company was forced to sell its truck-building division and focus solely on suspension systems, which eventually saved its name. The 360 series, meanwhile, faded into history as the truck that ended Hendrickson's run as a full-scale manufacturer. It was overbuilt, overpriced, and underbought, a masterpiece of metal that proved even the toughest trucks can break their makers. Number 6. Autocar DC9964B. If trucking legends had monsters, the Autocar DC9964B would be one of them. A machine so overbuilt, so massively engineered, it blurred the line between truck and locomotive. Autocar, one of America's oldest truck brands, built its reputation on indestructible workhorses for mining, construction, and heavy transport. But by the late 1970s, the company wanted to make a statement, and that statement came in the form of the DC9964B Super Tractor. This beast was designed for the toughest jobs on Earth, hauling massive loads like cranes, turbines, and construction machinery across extreme terrains. Its specifications were jaw-dropping: a reinforced steel chassis, dual-drive axles, and a total gross combination weight rating exceeding 200 tons. It could haul freight so heavy that most roads required special permits just to let it pass. Under its colossal hood was a 19-liter Cummins diesel, tuned for torque instead of speed. The cab was built like a bunker, surrounded by thick panels, huge mirrors, and heavy-duty reinforcements. The Autocar DC9964B looked less like a semi-truck and more like a rolling fortress. But there was one problem: cost. Each truck was practically hand-built, with custom parts that could only be manufactured in limited batches. Production times were long, and prices were astronomical. Fleets couldn't justify spending that much for such specialized use. At the same time, Autocar's parent company, White Motor Company, was already in financial trouble. The DC9964B's development costs and low return on investment pushed the company further into debt. By 1980, White, and with it Autocar's heavy truck line, went bankrupt. Volvo later acquired the remnants, and the DC9964B became a relic of excess. It was one of the most powerful trucks ever made, but also one of the costliest. The Autocar DC9964B proved that even in trucking, bigger isn't always better. Number 7. Reo Royale Heavy Hauler. Before Peterbilt, before Freightliner, before even Mack became a household name, there was REO. Founded by Ransom E. Olds, the same man who started Oldsmobile. REO was once a pioneer in both cars and trucks, but by the early 1950s the company was struggling, facing declining sales and rising competition. In one last effort to reclaim glory, REO introduced what they hoped would save them, the REO Royale Heavy Hauler. This truck was massive, ambitious, and beautifully designed. It featured a wide, rounded cab, an oversized grille, and long fenders that made it stand out on the highway. Inside, it offered unheard-of comfort for the era: padded seats, advanced gauges, and excellent visibility. The Royale was designed to handle the heaviest of loads, and its engine lineup included large gasoline and early diesel power plants capable of serious torque. But building such a machine required serious investment. Reo's engineers poured everything into the Royale project: new tooling, manufacturing processes, and advertising campaigns. It was supposed to put Reo back in competition with Mack and International Harvester. Unfortunately, the world had other plans. By the time the Royale hit the market in the early 1950s, the trucking industry had already shifted toward diesel power, and smaller, more efficient models were dominating sales. The Royale was expensive, heavy, and over-engineered, the opposite of what the market wanted. Sales were dismal. The project drained Reo's already limited resources, and by 1954, the company was bankrupt. White Motor Company bought its assets, and the Reo name soon disappeared from the trucking world. The Royale Heavy Hauler was a tragic final chapter in the story of a once great innovator. A truck that symbolized everything right about engineering and everything wrong about business timing. It was built to conquer highways, but instead, it buried one of America's oldest automotive names. Number 8. Sterling A-Line. Fast forward to the 1990s, and history repeated itself, this time with Sterling Trucks, a brand revived under Freightliner's ownership, part of Daimler. The idea was simple. Create a new premium line of semi-trucks that blended Freightliner's engineering with higher luxury and driver comfort. The flagship of this revival was the Sterling A-Line, a sleek, aerodynamic, and modern long-haul truck that looked ready to dominate the next century. The A-Line was beautifully designed. Its cab was spacious, ergonomic, and filled with features that made life on the road easier. Digital gauges, quiet insulation, improved visibility, and plush seating. It shared Freightliner's drivetrain components, but had its own distinctive look, smoother lines, unique headlights, and a premium interior. On paper, it was perfect. In practice, it was a corporate disaster. The A-Line was expensive to produce, with too many unique parts that weren't interchangeable with Freightliner's other models. This meant higher production costs, longer maintenance times, and reduced appeal for fleet buyers. Meanwhile, the performance was almost identical to the cheaper Freightliner Columbia and Century-class trucks, so why would anyone pay more? Dealers struggled to move inventory, and Sterling became a financial black hole. Daimler poured millions into keeping the brand alive, hoping the market would adjust. It never did. The 2008 global financial crisis hit hard, slashing truck sales across North America. By the end of that year, Daimler made the call. Sterling was finished. The A-Line, along with the entire Sterling brand, was discontinued. Thousands of jobs were lost, and the company's attempt to create a premium workhorse collapsed overnight. The Sterling A-Line wasn't a bad truck. It was well built, refined, and efficient. But it proved one painful truth. Even great machines can fail when they don't have a place in the market. It was the modern truck that bankrupted its own badge. Number 9. Foden Alpha 3000. Across the Atlantic, in the heart of Britain, Foden Trucks had been building lorries for more than a century. Known for durability, craftsmanship, and engineering precision, Foden was a name truckers trusted. But by the 1990s, competition from European giants like Volvo, Scania, and Mercedes-Benz was fierce. To stay relevant, Foden launched their most advanced model ever, the Alpha 3000 series. The Alpha 3000 was a masterpiece of modern truck design. Built under Packer ownership, which also owns DF and Kenworth, it combined classic British engineering with global components. The cab was sleek and aerodynamic, with smooth body lines and a comfortable interior that rivaled luxury cars. It was efficient, stylish, and surprisingly powerful, a serious contender for Europe's long-haul market. But there was a fatal flaw: price. The Alpha's semi-handcrafted design and low production volume made it expensive to build. Packard soon realized they were losing money on every truck sold. Meanwhile, DF, another Packard-owned brand, was already producing cheaper, more profitable trucks for the same market. Sales of the Foden Alpha were disappointing. Fleet buyers preferred DFs or Volvos, which offered better dealer networks and lower operating costs. Despite strong reviews from drivers, Foden couldn't compete on scale. In 2006, after 150 years of production, Packer pulled the plug. The Foden brand was retired, and the Alpha 3000 became the company's final model, the last truck to ever wear the Foden badge. The Foden Alpha 3000 represented everything British trucking once stood for: craftsmanship, innovation, and pride. But in a globalized industry dominated by mass manufacturing, heritage wasn't enough. The Alpha was too expensive, too unique, and too late. A beautiful truck that bankrupted one of Britain's oldest names. Number 10. Pegaso Trona TX. Spain's Pegaso was once a legend, Known for building some of the most elegant and technically advanced trucks in Europe, they were the pride of Spanish industry. Their final creation, however, would be their undoing, the Pegaso Troner TX. Launched in the late 1980s, the Troner TX was a technological marvel. It was aerodynamic, luxurious, and packed with innovations far ahead of its time. The cab design was futuristic, featuring curved glass, digital dashboards, and an ergonomic layout that rivaled anything in Europe. Under the hood, it carried a powerful 12-liter turbocharged engine capable of competing with Scania and Volvo on both speed and endurance. It was everything Pegaso dreamed of, a world-class long-haul truck that would put Spain on the global trucking map. But dreams cost money. The Troner TX's development was enormously expensive, involving years of R&D, new tooling, and complex manufacturing processes. When it finally launched, the truck was priced higher than its rivals. European hauliers, already squeezed by fuel prices and tight profit margins, weren't buying. Pegaso's financial situation collapsed rapidly. Sales never reached break-even numbers, and the company fell deep into debt. In a desperate attempt to stay alive, Pegaso partnered with DAF and Iveco, but it was too late. By 1990, the Spanish government sold the company outright to Iveco, which absorbed the technology and shut down Pegaso's truck production permanently. The Troner TX became the final chapter of a once glorious story. It was futuristic, fast, and beautiful, but fatally expensive to build. In the end, it didn't just fail to save Pegaso, it finished it. Each of these trucks was bold, beautiful, and ahead of its time, but brilliance isn't always profitable. From Marmon's hand-built perfection to Pegaso's European luxury, these machines show that innovation without balance can destroy even the strongest names. In the end, they left behind more than metal and rubber. They left warnings that in trucking, being too ambitious can sometimes mean driving straight into bankruptcy.